Right now, somewhere in a home near you, a dog is watching a human, not waiting for food, not tracking a sound outside, just watching, reading, processing. And if that human is sad or angry or anxious, the dog knows, not in the vague way we sometimes say animals sense things, in a measurable, neurological, scientifically documented way that researchers only recently began to fully understand. You probably already believed dogs were emotionally perceptive, but what the science actually shows goes so far beyond what most people imagine that it changes something fundamental about how we think about the relationship between humans and every other species on this planet. Most people explain a dog's emotional sensitivity the way they explain a lot of animal behavior, instinct. He can tell you're sad because he's trained to respond to your body language. She knows you're anxious because she smells a change in your sweat. Simple stimulus, simple response. A smart animal doing smart animal things. Except that explanation is about 20 years out of date. Because what researchers have discovered since then isn't that dogs respond to human emotions. It's that dogs process human emotions using brain structures remarkably similar to the ones humans use, and that they have been specifically shaped by tens of thousands of years of evolution to do exactly that, in ways that no other animal on Earth has matched. Let's look at what the science actually found. Before the MRI studies, before the cortisol research, before any of the controlled laboratory work, there was a quieter line of evidence that scientists had been sitting with for years without fully knowing what to do with it. Dogs are the only non-human animals that spontaneously seek eye contact with humans. Every other animal, including our closest primate relative, as a dominance signal or a threat. You stare at a chimpanzee and it looks away or becomes aggressive. You stare at a wolf and it reads it as a challenge. You stare at a dog and it stares back. And something happens in that exchange that researchers in Budapest first quantified in 2003. When humans and dogs make eye contact, both species release oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the same chemical released between a mother and a newborn child, between people in love, between humans during moments of deep trust and connection. Two different species looking at each other, triggering the same neurological bonding response. This had never been documented between humans and any other animal. It only happens with dogs. And it happens because dogs sought it out. They evolved toward human gaze specifically because the humans who responded to their eye contact gave them food, shelter, and protection. They made themselves irresistible to us by learning to look at us the way we look at each other. In 2015, a team of neuroscientists at Emory University led by Gregory Burns published results from a series of MRI studies on dogs. This was already extraordinary. They had trained dogs to lie still inside an MRI scanner voluntarily without sedation, which had never been done before at scale. What they found inside those scanners was unexpected even to the researchers. When dogs were shown the faces of humans expressing different emotions, happy, fearful, neutral, activity increased in a region of the dog brain called the caudate nucleus. The caudate nucleus is the same region that activates in human brains in response to things we love, things we anticipate, things that matter to us emotionally. The dogs weren't just detecting emotional signals, they were having emotional responses to them. At the level of brain chemistry, a dog seeing its owner's happy face looks remarkably like a human seeing someone they love smile at them. But that finding only tells part of the story. In 2016, researchers at the University of Lincoln and the University of Sao Paulo published a study that went further. They showed dogs photographs and played audio recordings simultaneously, but deliberately mismatched them. A happy face paired with an angry voice, a sad face with a happy voice. They wanted to know whether dogs simply responded to whatever signal was loudest, or whether they were integrating information from two different senses into a unified emotional picture. The dogs consistently oriented toward the matched combinations, the happy face with the happy voice, the angry face with the angry voice, even though they had never been trained to do this, even though there was no reward for doing it correctly. Dogs were cross-referencing visual and auditory emotional signals in real time and forming a coherent emotional read, exactly the way humans do. This is called multisensory emotional recognition. Before this study, it had only been demonstrated in humans and in a handful of our closest primate relatives. Dogs were doing it too. And here is where it gets even more remarkable. Dogs are not just reading emotions. They are specifically reading human emotions in ways they do not apply to other dogs. In a series of experiments comparing how dogs responded to the emotional signals of humans versus other dogs, researchers found that dogs were significantly more attuned to human facial and vocal cues than to those of their own species. Thousands of years years of living alongside people have rewired something in their perceptual system. They have become, at a neurological level, specialists in us, in human faces, in human voices, in the particular emotional grammar that humans use to communicate without words. No wolf does this. No fox does this. Even chimpanzees, who share over 98% of our DNA, do not follow human eye gaze and facial cues with the automatic fluency that dogs do. The dog developed this ability specifically through its relationship with human beings, Cheer, which means we didn't just domesticate dogs. We co-evolved with them. They changed to fit us. And in ways the research is only beginning to map, we may have changed to fit them. Here's the twist that most people never see coming. The relationship between dogs and human emotions runs in both directions. In 2019, researchers at Linköping University in Sweden published a study measuring cortisol levels, the primary stress hormone in mammals, in both dogs and their owners, over several months. They found that the stress levels of dogs and their owners were synchronized, not loosely correlated, synchronized. When the owner's cortisol went up, the dog's cortisol went up. When the owner's stress came down, the dog's stress came down. And the synchronization was stronger in dogs with closer, more bonded relationships with their owners. The dog wasn't just detecting human stress, it was absorbing it, living inside it, carrying it as its own physiological experience. What you feel, your dog feels, not as a metaphor, but as a measurable biological reality. Which means every time you come home anxious from work, your dog is anxious too. Every time you move through a period of grief or depression, your dog is chemically altered by it. Every time you feel joy, that joy is shared in a way that is more literal than anyone who has ever loved a dog probably realized. There is one more layer to this that brings the whole picture together. In 2021, researchers studying the evolution of the domestic dog's facial anatomy made a discovery that reframed the entire history of domestication. Dogs have a muscle above their inner eyebrow, a small muscle called the levator anguli oculi medialis key that wolves do not have, or rather, wolves have a trace version of it. Dogs have it fully developed. This muscle, when activated, produces the facial expression humans describe as puppy eyes, the raised inner brow that makes a dog's face look vulnerable, sad, and appealing. Researchers believe this muscle developed specifically because humans responded to it. The dogs that had it got more attention, more food, more protection, more successful reproduction. Over thousands of generations, the muscle became standard in the domestic dog genome. Dogs evolved a facial expression specifically designed to manipulate human emotions. And the reason it works so well is that it mimics the same expression humans make when they are sad or distressed, triggering our caregiving instincts automatically. They didn't just learn to read our faces. They learned to make faces that we cannot resist. So here's the full picture. Dogs process your emotions using brain chemistry similar to yours. They recognize your emotional state by integrating signals from your face and your voice simultaneously. They are more attuned to human emotional signals than to those of their own species. They absorb your stress as their own biological experience. And they have evolved a facial expression over thousands of years, specifically engineered to activate your protective instincts. This is not a pet that is nice to have around. This is an animal that has spent 10,000 years becoming the most sophisticated reader of human emotional states that evolution has ever produced. Every other animal on this planet has been shaped by its relationship with its environment, its prey, its predators. Dogs were shaped by their relationship with us. We are their environment. We are what they evolved for. The next time your dog looks at you, really looks at you, holds your gaze a second longer than seems necessary, it is not just waiting for something. It is reading you. It always has been. You just didn't know how thoroughly.